Yo, what's up? It's Waterboy. You're watching Sunfire Films TV. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a special guest today,
What up?
a guy that I've known for a while. We was talking earlier off camera, and we've known each other for a while. We can't even really remember exactly how we first met, but we've been rocking for a while.
Yes, sir.
Even since my DJ Sunfire days, man. We did a couple projects together. He came through and helped me out a little bit. You know, this man I admire. Every time we talk, the conversation is great. We always got something good to talk about, no matter what it is. You know, he's a rapper, he's a poet, business owner, father, husband.
Keep talking. I like it.
He got his own podcast too.
Yep.
So, you know, I got my boy Waterboy with me today.
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me on, dude. Like you said, man, it's been a minute.
Right.
I've been rocking with you for a long time, man. You always show me love and inspire each other. You know what I'm saying? So that's like priceless in this day and age, man. That's who I try to surround myself with, people that inspire me, and then hopefully I can inspire them. So appreciate you having me on, man. It's only right you got my podcast off the ground. Like you were one of the first guests I had. I kind of think that you were the podcast that kind of started changing the direction of my pod a little bit.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was doing pretty much straight interviews, and then when I had you on, like we just kind of went off the rails a little bit.
We did a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? And like, I think, you know, because we've done so many interviews together and stuff, it was like, man, like and then after the pod and I was editing it, I was just like, that's how it should be.
Yeah,
you know?
just
like,
straight conversation.
Yeah.
Shooting the shit.
Yeah, that makes it fun. So I appreciate you for that too, because I think that's dope. I mean, there's a place for both, you know. There's a place for interviewing, and hopefully we're filling all those gaps collectively, you know.
Mm-hmm. So let's get into it, man. Waterboy, I've known you for a while, but I mean, there's definitely been some things that I've seen and watched and attended, even had a part of filming some things too. So when you think about all the things you've done musically, what are a few of those moments that stand out? That if you had a highlight reel right now, what would be some of those moments that stand out?
Oh man, I've been doing music for recording music for about 20 years. Always wrote and stuff like that, but obviously the big shows are always great. When we did with Mason Jar, when we did Music Farm a couple years ago, that was one of the highlights of it, because we did all that of ourselves. You know, we bet on ourselves, and it ended up working out. You know, we put a lot of money into the show, the merch. We brought out some huge acts from around the area, and like, I mean, who else has had like Black Power mixtape and Marley Marl on the same stage? You know what I'm saying? So like, I felt like we just really did something monumental for the city. So that was a huge one. Performing at the fair a couple years ago, being like the first hip hop act to go out there and perform at the fair, which was wild in itself. Like, I literally just called and they like put me through to some old lady, like, hello, and I was like, are we trying to get on at the fair? She was like, well, what day do you want? It was just like that simple, you know. So I would definitely tell people, like, don't be afraid just to reach out to somebody and ask them about it. But those two were good. And even farther back,
Rockfest?
Rockfest was dope.
I was filming Rockfest.
Yeah, Rockfest was dope. Oh, winning Battle of the Bands was dope.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, when Mason Jar, when we decided that we wanted to use a band, and we're all, you know, all the rappers are in their mid to late 30s. The band's all late 40s plus 50s, you know, so it was kind of like let's give this thing go one last time
One last
kind of
run.
thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying like it's over or nothing like that, but we definitely gave it the push, and then like we were like right there, and then COVID came and was just like. I think I mean, if you talk to any artist or bar owner or, you know, other than doing like podcasting or something you could do at your house,
Yeah.
like it took a huge hit to every live music and, yeah, so.
Everything slowed down and changed a little bit.
For sure. But those are probably some of my biggest milestones. You know, I guess you got to figure out, I think, was it you and I that talked about this? I don't know, but, you know, like, I think people judge success based off of other success.
Yeah.
And you have to,
probably.
like, you have to decide what you feel makes yourself successful. Like, success is your own thing, you know? Like, wherever you set your goal, obviously have big dreams, but you should... You know, when you set goals and you attain them, you should take that moment and be proud of yourself for doing it and for you. And that's if that's successful to you, then what does it matter what the world deems as successful? You know?
Yeah, because we always, I mean, not everybody, but most people in this world, when they think of success, they think of cars and money and all of those things. But I can't lie, you know, sometimes, maybe when I was younger, I was considered those things successful, but the older you get and the more you start to think for yourself and realize things a little bit more, to me now, success is whatever goals I have, if I reach those goals, then that means I'm successful. Like, you might want a Bentley, but I might want a Honda. If I get my Honda, I was successful. So, you know, I reached my goal, and that means I did what I wanted to do, you know? So
100%.
do what you got to do for yourself.
Yeah,
but
definitely. Make sure that you're doing things for it. I've always just looked at it. If I'm doing something for other people, then that's a failure to me.
Yeah.
It's like to me it's not being true to who you are and yourself. Like if I'm doing I don't know. It's like if you're I hate to put it this way, but it's like when you're in a relationship with your significant other, and like if you're telling her like I want you to kiss me before you leave the house or something, you know what I'm saying? And like you could tell if she's doing it because you want her to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's kind of like that's how I correlate it. Is like I want you to do it because you want to do it, and you should want to do things because you want to do things. You shouldn't be like the world is putting this pressure on me to behave this way or act this way, or this to be, I have to have this car or this house or this much money or this many views or that many likes to feel like successful. And I mean, that's huge right now for me. I think like a lot of artists look at it like, if I don't have 1 million views on this YouTube video, or if I don't have this or that, then I'm not successful. And it's like, man, I don't know. Because the best thing for me is I'll have people hit me up from, you know, I haven't talked to in 2 years, and they'll be like texting me some song lyrics from a song I put out 10 years ago, you know, and I'm like, y'all still listening to that song? Like, dude, I listen to it like once a week. Like, it speaks to me, you know, and like to me, that's more important. You can't put a price on that. You know what I'm saying? True. Like if you were like, I don't know, if you were like, yo, you're gonna have a video that's got 1 million views, but what's it matter? Right. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, did I really like affect people in a real way is what matters to me as an artist or just as a person. So
they're looking at I mean, I guess people look at it for, you know, they want to be popular and stuff like that, but also a lot of times they look at it because back in the day, you know, they used to develop talent. They used to go out and go to open mics and find artists and create stars and stuff like that. Now it's like, how many views do you have? And, you know, how many followers do you have? So a lot of people, I mean, it is because of clout too, but, you know, a lot of times people feel like I have to get all these views and I have to get all these followers for people to pay attention to me in order for me to maybe get a record deal or maybe get some kind of recognition that I'm searching for.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, man, we're going to keep it moving, man. I know you Mason Jar, you know, you've done solo stuff, you've done stuff with groups, man. So I want to go back a little bit, man. Talk about like when you were first starting out, man, before Mason Jar. What were some of the things that you were doing?
So I was a part of a group that was, I've been blessed to kind of have two, almost three different musical careers in one lifetime. So like I was with this group called Creekside when I first started out, and we we were jumping around here. We were one of the biggest names around.
I remember.
Yeah, and so I was to like go from that and then like that dwindling down and losing its steam, and then to get into Mason Jar and all the success we had with Mason Jar. I just feel blessed to be able to like have those things in my life. But starting out with Creekside, I listen back and kind of cringe at a lot of it, to be honest with you. But I think that that's how you've grown.
You've grown.
And it's growth. But I just like everybody that was a teenager in the early 2000s. We all wanted to be 50 Cents and Dipsets and gangsters, and like wear big clothes and talk about violence and things like that, and misogyny and just the stuff that we came up on.
Right.
So that's one regret that I have from it. I wish, like, if I could go back, I would have more embraced like the lyrical side of it and the more depth to the music. You know what I'm saying? Which we did do those things, but I think like we could have made it a lot farther if we wouldn't have gotten caught up in like trying to have the image of the industry and the sound of the industry, and we would have just did what we do.
Right.
Then it would have been better. But I'm not gonna knock it. Like we did a lot of great things, man. I had a lot of fun. I learned so much. Grew so much. I feel like we've always like, because I remember back in the day when we were Creekside, like I would never tell nobody to go watch these videos because they're terrible. But at the time, nobody around here had music videos.
Right,
You know what I'm saying? And so like, I feel like I've always kind of been on I don't want to say a trendsetter, because it's like all that stuff was happening in other cities. It just wasn't happening here, and like we had the mindset of like, we need to, do these things, you know what I'm saying? We needed to have, like, we had merch, we had videos, we had our stuff being played on the radio. We were doing radio interviews, like all the things that if you lived in Atlanta or Orlando or these bigger spaces, that's what those artists were doing, but it just wasn't here.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why, I know that's why you started out, because you moved down to Orlando and then you saw some of those things.
Yeah.
And you brought that back here. So
Right.
that's why you've been a pioneer in the interview game.
Appreciate
here.
that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of why I started my podcast as well, is like, and I've had many artists come on and it's just like, yo, like, we just don't, it's dope that we have something like this to come express ourselves and to talk and show people. And I think that's one thing that has always been lacking in Charleston, South Carolina, whatever. But to not get too much on a tangent, man, I mean, starting out in music was awesome, had a great time. But like I said, if I could change anything, I would have just stayed more true to myself. I felt like it took me a really long time to just find me.
Where
you know what I'm saying?
Go. That happens, man. Like, I've had this conversation multiple times before. Like, it's gonna take you so many years to like find out what you should be doing. Like, like that's even bigger than trying to figure out what you're doing. A lot of times, like, you could be doing something that's not what you're even supposed to be doing. Like I wanted to be the biggest DJ in the world, and then that transition to the mixtapes and the DVDs, and like going out here and meeting artists and trying to put them on different platforms and do what I could do. And then, because music was my first love, always has been. And then, I started picking the camera up, and I feel like even though like I loved everything I did musically, like I wasn't supposed to be a DJ. I was supposed to be more of like a guy that filmed, or a guy that like put people on platforms or tell stories in a sense, and that's why I'm in the path I'm going down now with the filming, man. And I always wanted to get back to this, but we got to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. You're gonna make a million mistakes. I mean, it takes a long time, man. It really does. But if you had to pick or not pick, but which one do you like better? Do you like being like in groups? Do you like being like on your own?
So the thing about being in groups is that you can get a lot more done. So that's a pro of being in a group. You can get a lot more done, and you can also like expand your audience because you have, you know, those different. Somebody's gonna like me. Somebody's gonna like him. Somebody's gonna like their style, and like you're compiling those styles so that if you don't like my verse, then just wait. There's a verse coming on. You know what I'm saying? If you and then all that. So, but what for me, what I like about solo is I've always felt like I have a very unique style. So that doesn't really come through unless I'm doing some solo music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I definitely have to balance it that way. You know, Mason Jar, when I joined with them, or you know us at this point, but we weren't supposed to be a group. You know, like Mason Jar Music is the label, right?
Yeah.
And we were supposed to be solo artists under that. But what happened was whenever we started doing live performances, the guys I own a business with are all amazing musicians. You know, shout out to them. They still doing dope music now with Getaway Bronco. They got a couple other bands they do. But when we got the band together, then it turned into like this was the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like this is how we do shows. Like we got a band where with three vocalists, DJ, drummer, bass, guitar. So that's how that came. And then once it morphed into that, then we were just like we're straight up a group. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of morphed into a group. It was never the intention to be a group, but it just kind of morphed into that. Which was the same with Creekside. Like Creekside, we were all supposed to be individual artists, but it turns into a group because you go to, and that's one thing that I always, like with Mason Jar, it worked a lot better because we had a band and we had a show. But back when it was Creekside, like that's one thing I felt like we didn't do a good job of. And I think that if you're in a group now or you just got a clique of people that are all rappers, like if you're smart enough, man, pick, like do it like the labels do. Like pick whoever's got the hot music. And everybody, you got to check your ego and be like, yo, this dude's got a good sound. He's got a good look. Let's push his for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like this year we're pushing his. Right. And while that's going on, you're doing your music and getting your product ready for the next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's hard to make that decision because you're feeling like you're wasting a year not doing your music and stuff like that. But if you're truly brothers or sisters and you're like, yo, if this person gets on, I know we getting on. Like he's gonna hold the door and open it for us. But
yeah,
I felt like that's one thing that we didn't do a good job of back then and now. Like it's easier to make music in a group and things like that. But I prefer to be a solo artist because, like I said, I just do the music that I do is so different when I'm in a group, you know, and because of the way I rap, most of the time when I'm in a group, I'm the one who has to compromise. Because
so you was the Chris Bosh of the group.
Yeah, because I can kind of do both. I can adapt enough to do their style, but my style is so like off kilter and different that it's like it's hard for somebody to come into my world and do a song that do a song that it's like my idea and my type of beat. For one, you know, like my beat's gonna be slow, probably boom bap. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gonna be a slow beat, and if you got somebody over here that's like a quick cadence rapper and all that, and like they're like I can't fuck with that beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean I think there's room for both, and I enjoy being in both. You know what I'm saying? But I'm definitely the type of dude that likes to do things on my own, just because I'm like, you know, like you were talking, not to give too much away, but you were talking earlier about you had filmed something and you didn't really care for the lighting, and you're like, oh, I might not even put it out. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
like, that's how I rock with anything I do too. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's probably still better than most of anybody else's, but it ain't up to my standards.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It goes back into what we were talking about being successful. It's like, you can also sell yourself short and be like, you know, I could just settle for this. And that's where you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, you know, did I do enough to feel successful? You know what I'm saying? Because I know what my standard is, and I know how good something could be if I make it. So if I put something out knowing like I could have done better, that's a failure to me. You know what I'm saying? And like that's why I like to do things on my own sometimes, because I'm like, this is exactly how I want it. You know, I'm particular of, and I'm my biggest critic for sure.
Yeah. So what's presently going on with Mason Jar Music? What y'all got going on right now, and what you think about the future?
So, I know we talked a little bit off the pod, but you know, like I said just a little while ago, I think we all, when we got together with the band, we all kind of collectively were like, yo, it's this, like, we're gonna go after this thing, you know, and we did. We went hard after it, but you know, life happens, bro. And really, like, after COVID and trying to build it back up, a lot of venues and stuff, it's changed, and it's crazy. It's changed so fast in the last couple years, but it seems like a lot of the venues want just because I guess they were getting hurt for so long on the COVID and the money, that they want what's gonna pay. You know what I'm saying? They want what's gonna put people in the doors, and that's not really us right now. That's not a lot of original acts, period. You know, they want cover bands, DJs, country guys. You know, like they want something that they can, you know, pay a few $100 and have a guy that everybody's gonna be able to sing along to, everybody's gonna enjoy or whatever. But so that's part of it. I think also, like, for instance, Dusty, he's a lot like me, man. He's been in different groups. He's chased this music thing for him, I'm sure it feels like the very end. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's chased it, because I've been where he's at right now. I'm sure you saw his post about, you know, kind of trying to find his way into, he's doing the retro gaming and streaming and stuff like that right now, which is dope. Y'all go check that out, Retro Roads Gaming. But I've been in that position a couple times. Like, I saw Creekside come to a screeching halt, and then Mason Jar, you know, went up, and, you know, we're coming back down. But City and I, we've got a whole album recorded. So I definitely want to put that out. I think it's some of my best work. But, you know, like I tried to tell you before, Mason Jar is a label. So I think the view from the outside is like, we're looked at as a group. So I think a lot of people, when they saw Dusty was like saying he's stepping back, it was like, oh, the group's breaking up. But I just think it might be time to remind people that we're solo artists under a label, and we just gotta, you know, put out some of our music and get the ball rolling again. You know, because like I said, the band guys, they're in different bands now, and it's just not. It's hard to get 7 people on the same page and to do these shows. Our show takes so much work. That we can't just pop up and do things on the fly. So, you know, I don't know, man. I think that we have a great product, a great brand. We do great work. It's just, you know, hopefully with me doing these podcasts and, you know, talking with all these people, that we just need to get the ball rolling again. You know what I'm saying? Is what it really boils down to, man. It's just, you know how it is. Get down in a rut, and But I don't know. I don't think we're done. I just think we gotta reinvigorate and get things back rolling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm always make music. I'm still trying to push Mason Jar in the right direction. Using the podcast as a platform as well to help others. Like I've always said that I wanted to, after music, to help others, and I've got a lot, like a wealth of knowledge. Like like I said, I've been through peaks and valleys and like all that with the music. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to help others get along in the music world as well. You know what I'm saying?
What's going on, guys? Sun 5 Films here. If you live in Charleston or the surrounding areas and you need a videographer, please let me know. Whether it's a wedding, corporate event, live performance, I do a little bit of everything. So once again, please let me know. Now let's get back to the interview. You're watching Sun 5 Films TV. So what do you think some of the mistakes y'all might have made with the group and your whole career pretty much, man? Like mistakes you made, things you could have done differently, you know, things that you might have looked back on and been like, you know, like I dropped the ball on that, you know, whatever you could think back on.
Where to start? Well, with a group, I think if you're, whether that's in music or anything, it's better to be upfront with people. And what I mean by that is like, like if you start a business with somebody, like I think that a lot of times people think that the love will be enough to guide you through everything, you know, like the love and respect you have for each other. Mm-hmm. But you got to kind of mold yourself after what works. But what I mean by that is like if you have a Fortune 500 company, you know what I'm saying, and you go there and you start your first day in a Fortune 500 company.
Right.
You walk in and they're going to give you what you're responsible for, right? Mm-hmm. This is your responsibility, this is your responsibility, this is your responsibility. If these things don't get done properly, I'm coming to you with it. You know what I'm saying? And whenever you are in a group and you don't look at it that way, it can get dicey. And, you know, like, for instance, like, it's like one of the biggest problems I've seen in groups is people waiting for the next man to do something. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, whether it be merchandise, all right? So, you know, everybody wants merch and they want there to be merch there, but it's like we're all just gonna wait for somebody to take care of it. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, we need to get these songs mixed down. Well, I'm waiting on him to do it. I'm waiting on that to do it. Or I'm waiting on this person to tell me this or that. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I think would help people is like if you're starting out and you're trying to have a label or a group, a rap group or a lawn care business, like be upfront with people and of what like you expect of them and what they should expect of you. You know what I'm saying? And I think in the end, it'll work out a lot better because when people have set responsibilities, then it's like if I'm in charge of merch, then I'm in charge of merch. You know what I'm saying? I got it. Nobody should worry about that. But whenever it's like we're all just kind of trying to attack this the best way we can, and then it's like you get where you're like, oh man, I thought he was handling that. I thought they were handling this, and that's the hardest thing about being in a group. But on the flip side of that coin, that's what's hard about being by yourself as well. Like you would know, is when you're doing things solo, like you don't have that team to delegate things out to or to help you with those things. So. You know, me with this podcast, I'm blessed that my homeboy has stepped up. He ain't never touched the camera in his life, but you know, I showed him how to do it, and he's been learning and grinding, and he shoots the podcast for us now. He takes the photos for the graphics afterwards with the green screen so that I can edit those up and put out the promos and all that. But other than that, you know, I'm doing all the audio, the editing, the video editing, the graphic editing, like all that side of it. Booking the guests. So like, I'm wearing like 25 hats right
lot.
now.
It's
And
definitely a
if I
lot.
had a team to attack it, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But like I said prior to that, if the team isn't structured,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, then
That's hard.
yeah, the house will fall, if you don't have a good foundation. So I would
Yeah.
just give people the advice, like, be real with each other up front so that when shit gets real, you don't have to start being real with each other.
Right,
You know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying? It's like, if you're real from the jump, then when we go down in the trenches, bro, I already know you're real.
You
Like,
ready.
and I already know what to expect from you.
Yeah.
Like, yo, you're the one that's gonna book the studio time, and you're the one that's gonna do all the promo online. Okay, boom. So I don't have to worry about that. I'm the one that's doing the merch. All right, I got the merch. And if I don't do my job, then you got every right
To get on your
to get
ass.
onto me, because
Yeah.
we agreed up front.
Yeah.
But if you wait and you're just like, we're just kind of gonna play it by ear and just go with the flow, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, everybody wants to go with the flow until they hit a dam. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then it's like,
we
who
gonna
put
do?
this dam here? And then
Yeah.
it's like, you put the dam here. You put no,
Yeah.
I didn't. Like, so.
Yeah. The things about groups, man, that I've just realized by being by myself majority of the time, man, it's like with groups, like a lot of times, even if like in a group where y'all are singing and rapping and stuff like that, y'all go off the talent, y'all go off the love, y'all go off the friendship. It's not really like structured like a business, like how you said. And like we're out here, we're having fun, we got talent, we're doing all these things, but a lot of people don't understand that there's so many different steps to make that work besides having the talent and having the love. You got to have those things to even start. But if you want to get to these next steps, these next goals, you got to have things structured. You got to have business. You got to have like the people who are strong at what they know how to do. Like me personally, man, I'm by myself, but I try to do as much as I can by myself, but I know there's things that I shouldn't be doing, or there's things that somebody else should probably be doing because they are probably better at it, and it'll free up time for me to be doing other things that I really need to be doing. Until that day comes, I gotta do what I gotta do. But I understand with the group, man, it's like there's so many different things. Like you said, this one guy could maybe be doing the merch. This one guy could be doing all the booking. This one guy could be doing the let me go and network and reach out to different people. There's so many steps when it comes to the group, man. But
yeah, and I mean, artists, I'll be the first to, artists are egotistical. Like, from a videographer standpoint, yeah, like you don't have to have ego. You gotta like show you want to be the best out there. But I'm just saying, like, artists almost have to have this bravado and this ego of like, I could just show up and rap and that's it, and go home.
I know people
But
like that.
yeah, and it's like, in our field, you have to have ego to be a good artist if you're a rapper. But if you're doing things on your own, then you can't have that ego. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've noticed as an artist, like, it's gotten me so much farther in life when I had the ego on the stage to perform and give a good show, but I'm coming off the stage and the sound guys are my best friends. You know what I'm saying? The video guy is my guy. Like, what you want to drink, bro? Like, appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Like, not no, like, you treat everybody with respect, because like they're the ones making you look good, bro. They're the ones making you sound good. They're the ones that are gonna edit this thing up, and like you got to take care of them type of people, man. And but artists, I think, if you want to be serious about your craft, either A, you're gonna have to go find a management company that's just gonna tell you where to be and what to do and what to wear, and you don't have to worry about nothing. You could just show up, take your pictures, and do your shit and leave. But if you're an independent artist and you're trying to climb from the bottom, like most of us are, it's all those little intangible things that are gonna get you so much farther. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I tell people, man, like the talent is like talent is definitely very important, but it gets to a certain point where that's like it's an even playing field. Like, like if you got talent and I got talent, like why did you get to where you got at, and why did I get to where I got at? Like, what made you get maybe farther, or what made me get farther? Like, what held you back? What held me back? You know, it's always those small things, man. Like, that's why I know that being on time is important. Being friendly is important. You know what I'm saying? Doing all these little small things, working harder than everybody else. Like, when this person, you know, when he just came out and filmed and went home, I might have sat down and tried to build a relationship with you. You know, we sit down and get to know each other. There's always these small things that's going to make you stand out over the other person. Like, the talent is cool, you got to have that, but a lot of times getting to where you want to be at is not because of the talent.
No. I've had a saying that I say, the guys at work hate it, but I say this all the time. It's, I'd rather do something twice than nothing once. And what I mean by that is, like, as an artist or whatever, like, I'd rather try something and fail than do nothing one time. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing one time is way worse than doing something twice. Like, even though I might have messed up and I had to go back and do it again or whatever, I'm active and growing. Like,
you're learning.
Doing nothing is, you know, that's yeah, exactly. So that's what I try to live my life by, man. It's just growth is my main goal, is to grow. And like you said, like, it's all the little things that cause growth. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to, you know, like they say, baby steps or whatever. Like, a lot of people just want to, like, go from here to there so easily. You know, like, it's like you put out a song and then tomorrow you wake up and it's got 10 million views and all these labels are calling you. I'm like, bro, do you know what the percentage of that happening is? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like less than 1%.
Yeah.
Way less than 1%. It's like 0.00001% that's going to happen to you. Yeah. So the real thing is like we were talking earlier too, is like what is successful to you? Like, for me, success to me would be I can do what I love without and pay my bills. Like, if I can do that, I'd be successful, you know, like, and that's why I'm not successful yet in my mind. I am, because I'm successful in the sense of, like, I do own a business and my bills are paid, my kids are taken care of, and like that, the things that really, really matter are taken care of. So I could live with that as being a success. But for me, my standard, I need to be able to either, you know, whether it's the music, the podcast, really just my creativity. I need my creativity to pay my bills. Pay
your bills.
And then I would be successful in my own mind. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's something I got to work towards, or I am working towards, but got to keep working.
Yeah, man. And like when I started the pod, man, I said, or not pod, because this isn't a pod, but like how I started when we first got into the conversation, like, you do a lot of things, you know, you rap and you do poetry and, you know, you do have the podcast, like how you said, and your father and your husband, and how do you balance all of those things? Because for me, like, you know, like, you got it a little bit more crazy than I do, but, you know, I have a horrible time balancing my life. So how do you balance all those things?
Oh, man, I have an awesome, amazing wife, to be honest with you. She's always supported me and believed in me when nobody else did. She pushes me to do, to be creative. You know, I'm not gonna say it's always easy at all, but I think that's probably the biggest element of balance, is having someone that, you know, if you're talking balance and we're looking at the scale and it's like, you know, I've got a lot of weight on me right now, then, you know, she picks it up and evens it out to where, like, I got a lot of editing, or I've got to go here, I got to go there. Okay, well, she's got the kids, she's going to take care of this, take care of that. That way it can happen. So that's probably the biggest thing, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not great at it all the time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think we all, it's very difficult to balance all those things. I never feel like I'm given
You're
a lot of
you're
times
never doing enough.
yeah, you're never doing enough, and a lot of times I feel very selfish, you know, whenever I'm making, and that's where like the views and the clicks and all those things and the spins come into play, because whenever you're like, that's the only time I care about it, I guess I should say, is because I look at it like all the time I've taken away from my family to go write this song, to record this song, go back, mix this song, go back, mix it again, because I want this to be different or a little better, like. And then, okay, let's go shoot the video. That takes 8 hours to shoot it. Okay, now it's going to take probably 4 sessions, like 8 to 10 more hours of going over there and like making every cut right. So like this is, let's do this, let's do that. So by the time it's done, 1 song and video, I've spent 24 hours away from my family. You know, that's a whole day away from my family that I can't get back.
Yeah.
But really, that's just the hour. The hours equal a day, but we're talking 7 days of being away from your family at different times. So then you put this song out, and you know, it's the people that listen actually give it the chance, love it, but getting people to click on it or do it, like that's the only time I really look at it as, damn man, like I spent all this time on this and I've only got 2,000 views on YouTube on this video. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, am I being selfish to my family by trying, you know? But I know they want me to try because they believe in what I'm doing. But there's times where I lay in bed at night and I'm just like, why did I just spend all this time on this podcast for it to get 200 views on YouTube? You know what I'm saying? And like, is that selfish of me, or is it, I don't know. I know my family understands that, like, I'm a creative being, and I'm just, you know, I'm depressed if I can't create music or poetry, or if I can't talk with people and sharpen ideas and like pour life into people, have life pour back into me. Like, that's just who I am. And I mean, at this point they get it, but they are definitely the biggest part that helps me balance it, because they're just so supportive of it, you know?
Yeah. You sound like me in a lot of ways, man. And our stories are probably similar to a lot of people, man. Like, I never feel like my life is balanced. Like, I struggle with that, and I probably will struggle with that for a long time, man. For like trying to film and trying to edit and then trying to learn these things, because I didn't go to school for this. I didn't have anybody teach me. So like a lot of the things that I'm doing them and I'm learning them at the same time. So, you know, you got to film, you got to edit, you got to take time to like learn the business, because I got my LLC now. So you got to learn the business, and you got to, you know, send out emails and contracts and do all of these things. But then you also got to have time for your kids. You got to have time for your wife or your husband. You got to have time for yourself, where it's like, do I even want to just take the time to go for a walk, because there's other things that I need to be doing? Or, you know, when you're at home and you're like, hey, let me clean up, let me wash these dishes, let me cook, there's so many things that we all do, especially like thinking about my life, that's like, there's just so many different things. And I always feel like when I give energy to one thing, like I should be giving energy to something else. Yeah. Like, you know, like when I'm sitting down on the computer editing, I feel not bad, but I feel like I should go spend time with my wife and kid. Or like if I'm just spending time with my wife and kid, I should be like, man, like I ain't exercised or went to the gym or went on a walk in weeks. I should probably go for a walk. I always feel like I'm never doing enough, and I'm never doing what I should be doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really like what you said about finding time for yourself, because I think that if you were to ask, maybe not because they might understand it at this point, or they might give you, if you asked them on camera, they would give you the politically correct answer. But if you asked either one of our wives, like, whenever we're doing this or editing, like that's personal time for us. You know what I'm saying? And it's really not.
It's
you
not.
know what I'm saying? And so like it is hard to find because we spend so much time editing or videoing or being creative that whenever we don't do those things, then we have to, not have to, but we need to spend time with our wife or our children or even our friends or family. You know, like you're spread so thin that you don't ever really get time to yourself.
Right.
And because everyone else looks at your editing or your this or that as your time.
Yeah.
But that's not your, it's not free time.
That's not your time.
It's not, you know, and so I feel you on that.
Yeah. Real quick before we start talking about something else. A lot of times, I don't want to say wives or husbands or anything like that, but people in general, when they see you doing something that you love or you enjoy doing, even though it is work, they look at it as you're just having fun. Or like I might go out and promote for a day and, you know, like I might pass out flyers or something, you know, whatever. And then it's like, oh, you went to a event where people were doing this and doing that. You were having fun. But I'm like, I was in a fun environment, but I was still working. I was promoting my business. I was promoting my brand. That's not the same thing as me just sitting down doing nothing, watching TV or going to play video games or something like that. You know, like people think because you enjoy what you're doing and you might be in a fun environment that you're not working, which is not true at all.
No, and in our field, I'm always working.
Yeah.
You know, like anywhere I go, I'm like thinking of like, would this be a good person to have on my podcast, or who is this? Like if I'm at a show, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, could he help me in my music, or can I help him, or what? How can we network? You know, I've got my back pockets full of business cards, and and you know what I'm saying? Like we could go to a car dealership, and I'm like, some dude's charismatic, and I'm like, hey man, you want to sit down for an interview? Like, let's talk about what's your story, you know, like, I don't know, it's just, you're 100% right, man. It's like, it's constant work, especially when you're trying to build it to a way where it can be nourishing to you and your family, and self-sufficient, where you're not constantly dumping your own money and time into it without a lot of return on your investment, you know. So that's the only way to get there, is to be proactive, and
you got
you know,
man. And then you just got to be out there. I don't want to keep going because I got a lot more to talk about. But I know you do poetry as well, man. Let's talk about that a little bit. You know, I know you've been doing poetry your whole life probably, or somewhere close to that. So let's talk about that a little bit. And I wanted to ask you, we always talk about, you know, you doing music and things like that. I also wanted to know, did you ever want to like be a poet, like a real, like, not to say you're not a real poet,
but I know
like
what you
that's
mean.
Just your like your full-time career. Did you ever think about that as well?
Not really, to be honest with you. No. I love it, but I don't know how to say this without being like disrespect. I don't want to disrespect the art, because I love the art and I am a poet. But I've always felt like, and maybe that's why I should have probably went into it, but I've just always felt like poetry has like a template almost, and it just didn't attract me, you know. Like my poetry, I feel like I've always tried to make it different, the way that the cadences of it, and and maybe I'm wrong in that, but when I see like these poets that are professional poets and they go on stage, it's just like all their cadences, the messages are all vastly different, and there's always great. Like they're phenomenal, so I won't take that from them. But I just feel like you have to do it a certain way, and I felt like maybe I wasn't gonna be, I wouldn't do well in it, I guess, you know. Right. So I don't want to say like I didn't go do it because I don't like the way they do it. I didn't ever feel like I would be received, because it felt like poetry, like you had to do it the way that they do it. You know what I'm saying? Where
Yeah.
it's like nah, 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 like spoken word. You know, like I don't want to butcher it because I can't do it. That's what I'm saying. I can't do
Yeah.
it. But I don't know. Like I've had people, a lot of people tell me that that's my thing. Like I should have followed it more. But I'll be honest with you. My poetry, my favorite thing to do with poetry is to just write it and and like leave it somewhere.
So kind of like your therapy,
Yeah, like if
like a journal, maybe.
yeah, kind of. But like if I'm like I'm getting my oil changed and I'm in the thing and there's a pen and a piece of there's like a brochure, you know.
Oh, you
like,
mean leave it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like I'll it's always been my thing, and so I don't know. I've never had. I thought about, because I don't like sign it or nothing, but I've thought about maybe even like maybe leaving my something for people to be like
reach out to you.
Yeah, maybe a hashtag where people can like take a picture and share the hashtag or whatever. But I don't know. I've always just done that. I've always just like I'll write a poem and I'll leave it somewhere, and hopefully it finds the person that wants to hear it or see it. That's kind of the way that I've always been with poetry. Like even when I do poetry shows, I'll be honest, I really don't do a lot of my like poetry. Usually it's songs that I've written, and I just perform them like poems.
Okay.
So that's kind of like my real poetry. I don't show that a lot. You know what I'm saying? And if I do, like I said, like I prefer to be anonymous. You know what I'm saying? I like to like leave it for somebody. Like if I happen to be Easter, we went to church, and write a poem and leave it right there on the visitors forum or something.
Oh,
you know
okay,
what I'm
wow.
saying? Or yeah, on the pew or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I always wanted to ask you that because we always talk about music, but I know you do poetry as well. And I had the question in my mind. I was like, I wonder if he ever even wanted to take it as like a career, because he never talks about it in that light. So that was just something I wanted to know.
I could be honest. Like I've never really considered it. I've had people tell me like that's your gift. You know,
Yeah.
like I've always been told that. Like people are like, you're a great rapper, you're a good speaker, but your poetry is like that's your gift. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you dope, man. I like what you do.
I appreciate that, man. I don't know. You know, I guess too. Like I've never really been in the scene like that, so I wouldn't know where to even begin that way. You know, like I don't want to say I ain't been in the scene. I've done a lot of poetry shows and a lot of things like that, but yeah, I don't even know. I'm so out of my element with that because poetry's just always been like this super personal, like you said, like a therapy, like just a journal, like I just write it down and then I don't ever read it again.
What's going on, guys? Sun5 Films here. If you made it this far into the interview, thank you. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Now let's get back to the interview. You're watching Sun5 Films TV. So I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but I wanted to ask you, like, when you get old, a lot of people say 5 or 10 years, what do you like? But I really want to know about, like, when you look back at your life, when you're old and gray, you're sitting in that rocking chair, man, like, what do you want to see? Like, what do you want to remember about your life? What did you want to accomplish? And I also want to ask you, what do you think your purpose is?
Oh, all right. Break it down. So, try to answer both parts of the question. When I'm looking back, for one, like my ultimate success would be to have, because I have 2 children. So obviously my biggest goal in life is for them to. I always tell my son that his floor is my ceiling, right? Meaning like, my peak is where you're starting from, so you should technically turn out way better than me. You know, like I've there's a saying about hard times create hard men. That whole saying, like, so like I went through hard times. It made me strong enough to get to where I'm at. So. I guess the cycle would be like that. Your kid might have it easy and not go as far as they could because they had it easy. But but that's just my goal, is to like, I worked hard to get to where I'm at. I want to go farther than where I'm at, obviously, and I'm gonna keep working. But I gave you a baseline, you know, and you, at minimum, you should be as good as me, right? If you think I'm good, I'm not the one to say that, but my goal is just for both of my kids to be better than me, to go so much further in life than I did. They're starting a lot farther ahead of me, so they should, you know. But that's because of the work and effort I put in throughout my life. To you know, being old and gray, that would be my main goal. I would also say, like, coming from a family of, like, I don't know if, like, this is for you too, but our generation, right? Like, I don't know how you grew up or whatever, but my grandparents were huge in my life. All right, you know, and like, I feel like this, then I don't know how to say it without being like disrespectful to anybody or anything, but my point is, I just want to be a good grandparent. All right. So if my kids have kids, I want to be the grandparents that I had. You know what I'm saying? Because my kids didn't really have that. You know, I feel like our generation and our parents, you know, like, it's the first generation where, like, maybe it's just me in my life, but I just feel like my kids, I didn't have, like, the granny's house they could go to, you know what I'm saying? Or granny picked them up from school and do this with them and that with them. So that's a large goal of mine. Is like, I've just been trying to break cycles of my family. You know what I'm saying? And like, I feel like you asked what my purpose is. I feel like that was what my purpose was my family has got, like, a string of addiction, not being there for each other, or, you know, like, being fine with being apart all the time, and not really having, like, that family core, you know, that nuclear family, you know. And, like, that's what I'm trying to create for my kids, is a home that they can come home to whenever, if and when they have kids. Their kids are always gonna be at my house. We're gonna have Sunday dinner. I'm gonna be at all their sporting events. You know what I'm saying? If my kids move across the country, I damn near gonna sell my house and move over there, just so I can be around them and their kids and take care of, like, I just want to create. I want, you know, they say the buck stops here. You know, that's the saying, but I want to be like, the buck starts here too. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like it stops with me, but I'm gonna create a whole new line of family that's going to be different. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what God put me here. He gave me this mindset of, or you know, whatever you believe. My purpose in this world is to create. I could leave it right there. To create. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always felt like a creator, a creative mind, and that goes with everything. Like, I'm trying to create a family that's going to have deep roots and be there for each other, and not fall into these paths of addiction and jealousy and you know, just stupid quarrels that keep the family apart for months and years at a time. You know what I'm trying to say.
I definitely understand, man. We don't want to get into all that right now, but I definitely understand, man. So, you know, I'm a positive person, man, or at least I try to be, man. Anybody who knows me, even just a little bit, they know that. So I want to ask you, leave me and leave everybody else with one piece of advice that someone told you or taught you.
Oh, man. Well, my granddad used to always say, he don't drink light beer, he don't lease cars, and he don't rent houses. So what he means by that is, like, if you want something, go out, own it, get it, you know, like, make it yours, because in the end, that's going to be beneficial. So that's just like a piece of advice I've tried to stick by. My stepdad used to always say, if you can't buy it cash, then you can't afford it. That's something that's, like, I mean, that's really hard in this day and age because everything's so expensive, but it is great advice. Try not to get yourself into too much debt. I know you was thinking something more along the lines of like poetic, but I'm just giving
just tell me anything,
some little tidbits of things that's helped me throughout life, man. Don't drown yourself in credit card debt and house debt. Like, try to find a way to where you can own things too. But on the positive side of things, man, one thing that my brother told me that really stuck with me, and because I would get bent up on things of like, I see things happening or people doing things, and like, I'd be like, why can't they just do this? Why can't they just do that? And my brother just one time looked at me, he was like, Michael, because they're not you.
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, you got to quit putting yourself up as the standard for others. Because everybody's different, and they don't think about it like you think about it. They don't do it like you do it. So, like, sometimes your standards like up here, and they're only capable of like right here, and you got to understand that. And that's not to say like you can't try to help them raise their standards or whatever. So that piece of advice stuck with me in the sense of like, try to show people grace. Try to understand, like, to be a good leader, you got to know how to follow. That's one thing that I've learned throughout the years is like, if you're a natural leader, which I kind of always have been, you can't just lead all the time. Sometimes people need to feel that leadership. They need to feel like they're in control. And if you're a really good leader, you can lead people while letting them lead you a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's ways to go about it. And especially like we talked about being in groups and things like that. Like, like, if a real leader is not somebody who leads with an iron fist, is what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
But yeah, just show people grace. Like you say, you're always positive. I found being positive is always the best way. There's the old saying that you can attract more flies with honey than shit. I like to live by that. I like to build people up, man. I mean, it's just so much negativity in this world. There's no reason that we can't help each other out. They've done studies on even flowers. You yell at a flower every day and it doesn't grow as well as if you just tell it to grow and be cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know how true that is, but y'all can Google it. But I've heard that on multiple times where they literally, you can plant a flower and like talk to this one and be like, you're stupid, you'll never grow.
Yeah.
You're ugly, and it
Damn,
something about the frequencies and the vibrations, like you can feel positivity, I guess, but I don't know. Look into that. So even if it's not true, it is true, especially with people. If you have a kid and you're just telling them it's nothing and it's a piece of crap and it's never going to be anything, like, they might start believing that.
Yeah.
And if you tell somebody that build them up, like, then they might start believing that too. Right. That's what I'm about. So.
Okay. A couple more things before we get up out of here, man. I wanted to ask you, what's one thing that people don't know about you? Or it might be a misconception. They might think this about you and it's not even what they may think it is.
I would say, like, a lot of times I think people, especially now, I've had, it's kind of funny recently because, we built this house and I got my studio there, and I've had people come through and they like, I guess they think I'm well off or something, or think like I don't know what they think, but the feeling I get is that they don't understand all the stuff I've been through to get to where I'm at and how hard I had to fight, and like the just traumas and that I still deal with today. And I think that, like maybe from the outside people might think that like everything's all buttery, everything's kosher, and like it's not, man. Like, it's just, I've learned by being through so much trauma and having so many bad things happen throughout life that I tell my daughter, I don't know if me and you, I feel like I said this on somewhere, but I'll say it again because this is a new platform.
Right.
I tell my daughter all the time, like if she cries about something, and that's fine. Like you can emote, you can, all that's good. But I tell her like it doesn't help anything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it just makes things worse. Whenever if you're not getting your way, or you fell down and you scraped your elbow, and then you start crying about it, like the crying's actually making it worse. Because now not only is your elbow hurting a little bit, now you're crying. Nose is going to be clogged up. You're probably going to end up with a headache. Like it's just like it's adding insult to injury, literally.
Yeah.
So I look at life in that sense too. Is like when you're going through something and pain and things like that. Like it's okay to cry. I'm not saying that, but try to find the positive ways to learn from things and grow from things. And that's something that I try to do with, but something that people may not know about me, it's just that it ain't always easy, but I try to keep it positive and try to keep people growing and living, and that's probably about it, man. I mean, I feel like at this point I'm like an open book. I've done so many like interviews, and my music, I talk about a lot of my life in my music, so it's hard for people not to know, but one of the biggest things is like me and my wife lost our first child when we were teenagers. I mean, her and I have been together since we were forever, and that's probably the biggest pivotal moment in my life where I just was cursing God, mad at God, hated God, you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know, man, like things like that change people, and I've been forever changed. And maybe that's why I look at life so differently, because I've held my lifeless son in my arms, you know what I'm saying? And like at 17 years old, like holding your dead child in your arms, and like the tears rolling off your face and dropping onto his lifeless body is like, it's a pain and a hurt and an image that like just changes you, bro, forever. You know what I'm saying? It changes you forever. So I mean, that's probably something people don't know about me. I used to talk about it a lot because it hurt a lot, and now I don't talk about it as much. Because I feel like you said this, but you don't want to feel like you're complaining or whining.
Yeah.
I think you've said that to me before, and I 100% agree with that. Like I don't want people to feel sympathy or sorry for me, because I don't need it, bro. I don't need I don't need the sympathy, man. I just want to be a strong person and show people that like even through stuff like that you can be okay. So I think a lot of people take their traumas and use them as excuses to be shitty people, and I don't never want to do that, Right. So.
All right, man. Before we get out of here, I know you got your podcast.
So
talk about that a little bit, man. And,
Well, hey. Shout out Sunfire having me on, man. I like this dude has always been in my corner and supported whatever I've been doing. Like he's the poetry, the music. He, interviewed me years and years ago on his what was it? What's the streets?
Word on the Street.
Word on the Street. Damn, I don't know how I lost that for a second there. Word on the Streets. Like he said, I have a podcast, so it's called The Water Pod. You can type in youtube.com/waterpod, or you can find it on Spotify, The Water Pod, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. It's been fun, man. Like I said, I owe a lot to the people that's been around, like him, that I've come on and interviewed with him a few times, and he's been one of the guys that's like, bro, you should do your own interviews and things like that. You got a good mind, good speaker. You know a lot of dope people. So, I know a lot of people led me in that direction. But y'all check it out. It's called The Water Pod. It's more of a free form conversation, like I was telling him in the beginning. Like it started out just interview based, but after sitting down and chopping it up with him, we talked about basketball and our favorite rappers and all kinds of things like that. And that's the kind of podcast I want it to be. So you could tune in and you can, you know, I've got a lawyer coming on next week. We've got country artists. We've got people who practice Reiki and energies, rappers, singers, business owners, entrepreneurs. Just try to bring different people on and guests that might connect with different people. So definitely. And then you check out the music. Look up Mason Jar Music, Muzik. That's on YouTube and Apple and all that as well. I'm probably be releasing some solo videos and stuff like that. But if you go follow the Water Pod on YouTube, then I'll be posting some of my stuff on there too. So you check that out. I've got poetry up there, and some of my music. So check that out.
Right, man. And like we said a little while ago, man, we super busy people. You super busy guy, man. I appreciate you taking the time to even sit down with me, man. And you know, like, we always gonna be doing stuff together, man.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Y'all gonna see us again. You gonna see him again. So I'm Sunfire Films. This is Waterboy. This is Sunfire Films TV.
Let's go.
That's my daddy.